Boy is it dusty. What is cracking, guys? In this one I'm going to do a quick impressions video on my stepdad's 2013 Harley Breakout. It's a 103 cubic inch engine, being the previous generation Harley engine, which was a twin cam twin valve per cylinder engine, and it is a 1690cc or 103 cubic inch. So these older generation Harleys sound a hell of a lot more mechanical than the newer generation Harleys. Anyway, without further ado, let's start it up and have a listen to it. Alrighty, so as I said, I'm going to do a quick impressions on the bike. I'm not going to go over all the specs, being the weight, the fuel range, all that kind of jazz. All I'm going to talk about is what I think about the bike. So the first thing that I want to talk about with this bike is the look of it. It is just one badass looking machine. It's got that big rear tyre, that 240mm tyre. It's got that nice big 21-inch front tyre, those low slung drag bars, and the bike's quite low to the ground, so it just looks mean. It looks absolutely badass. And listen to that. You can't go past these engines. These 103 cubic inch engines are just solid. They perform well, they sound great, and they're just reliable. So before my Softail Street Bob, I owned a 103 cubic inch Harley Softail Slim, and I absolutely loved that engine. It was bulletproof. Never had an issue with it. And whilst I'm on the topic of this engine, I'll just talk about the sound of it. So these old engines, listen to that. So these old engines just sound so mechanical and just raw in comparison to the new generation Harleys. So the new gen Harleys are a single cam 4 valve per cylinder engine, whilst these older generation Harleys from I think it was 2012 to 2017, they were a twin cam 2 valve per cylinder engine, and boy do they sound amazing. That's the main thing that I miss about owning a 103 in comparison to the new generation engines. The new ones just don't sound like these old ones. These old ones sound like absolute beasts. Christ, look at that dust. And boy is it windy, hence why there is so much dust in the air. So dry out this way, we need rain bad. But anyway, whilst I'm on the topic of talking about this engine, I'll give it a bit of a rip and let you have a listen to it. It sounds so much better than my Milwaukee 8 engine. I got to be honest, this thing sounds amazing. And the transmission just feels so solid. So when you're clicking into gears, you feel it really bites into gear, whereas with the Milwaukee 8, the transmission feels a little bit smoother. But in saying that, it doesn't feel as heavy duty. So this, it just feels like everything about this engine just feels tough, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas yeah, with the Milwaukee 8 Softail Street Bob, I find that the shifting is a fair bit smoother. It feels a hell of a lot lighter than this, but boy does the shifting feel good on this. It just feels solid, if that makes any sense at all. So when I got rid of my Softail Slim S, I was seriously considering buying one of the older generation Harley Breakouts, and that's just because I absolutely love the look of them. In my opinion, they are the nicest Harley Davidson the company makes. They just look badass, they look stylish, they're just mwah, bellissimo, they look awesome.
Signor bellissimo!
So the reason why I went with the Softail Street Bob instead of one of the previous generation Harley Davidson Breakouts is because the Street Bob just suits my riding needs a lot better than what the Harley Breakout does. And I'll tell you what those reasons are. So I do a fair bit of distance riding around the country. When I say around the country, I just mean around the bush. And I'll do rides which will last up to 2.5 hours at a time. That's not a big ride, that's not a long ride. But when my stepdad bought this bike, I rode this bike from the city to Bathurst, where I used to live, and that was about a 2.5 hour ride. And by the time I got to Bathurst, I didn't want to ride the thing ever again. And the reason for that is because this bike has quite an aggressive riding position. So your legs are face forward out in front of you, the bars are quite low, so your back is rounded and your shoulders and your arms are bent downwards towards the bars. So after 2.5 hours of riding, that can really take its toll on your back. And I don't know if I'm just soft, but I find that after 2.5 hours of riding, my back kills me if I'm not in a upright riding position. So that was the main reason why I didn't go with a Harley Breakout. Yes, I know you can change out the bars and make them higher and make your riding position a bit better, but in my opinion that takes away from the whole look of the Softail Breakout. These bikes are meant to look like dragsters. They got that big rear wheel, they got that aggressive riding position, the low slung drag bars. They just look badass, and I wouldn't want to mess with the bars on this bike because it just runs so well with the style of the bike. So in my opinion, if you changed out the bars on a Softail Breakout, I don't think you're going to find bars which look much better than these stock drag bars. But hey, that's just my opinion. I know there's blokes out there that put ape hanger handlebars on these Breakouts, and granted they look pretty good, but they just don't look as mean as these low slung drag bars. And another main contributing factor as to why I didn't go with the previous generation Softail is because of the suspension. It just, in my opinion, it really isn't comparable to the new monoshock that they're running on the Milwaukee 8 frames. Just feels so much more plush. It feels like the bike is just planted so much better to the road when you're going around bends. When you hit potholes, it doesn't bounce you halfway across the road. And another contributing factor as to why I didn't go with the Harley Breakout after I rode it is the handling. Holy shit, that just bounced me halfway across the road, as I was talking about with the suspension on these bikes. So I ride these roads quite a fair bit on my Softail Street Bob, and I don't notice those potholes, whereas on this bike, geez, it bounces you. And yeah, just going back to the handling, the first time I rode this bike after getting off my Softail Slim S, I thought the front tyre was flat. I'm not gonna lie, it felt just real heavy in the front, and it felt like if I turned too far it was just gonna slip out from underneath me. That's just my impression anyway. I'm sure there's gonna be people out there telling me I'm an idiot, the bike doesn't feel like that at all. But after riding quite a few Harleys, the handling and the maneuverability on this bike doesn't compare to some of the other models, even in comparison to the Harley Fatboy. These feel quite a fair bit heavier to maneuver than those bikes, and they're quite a big Harley, hence the name Fatboy. The maneuverability just isn't as good as other model Harleys, but you sacrifice maneuverability for the styling of the bike. And the reason why it doesn't maneuver as good as other model Harleys is because of the rake of the forks, the big 21-inch front wheel, and that massive back tyre that these bikes are running. So for styling, you sacrifice maneuverability, and I'm sure there's loads of people out there that would 100% sacrifice maneuverability for the styling of this machine. Christ, look at that dust storm. That just shows you how dry it is out here. The moment that we get any decent wind, The dust goes all the way up into the clouds, as you can see. It's just so dry out here. It just puts a smile on your face when you open it up. Boy, there's some things that I absolutely love about this bike. The look of the bike is unbeatable. The sound of this machine is unbeatable. And as I was saying before, the styling of the bike contributes a lot to the reason why I didn't buy the bike. And I gotta say, the suspension is not even comparable to the newer generation Softails. When you hit a pothole in this, it feels like your ass is going to go through your throat. Whereas on my Softail Street Bob, when you hit a pothole, yeah, you notice it, but it doesn't jar you. It doesn't jolt you back. But yeah, I'm sure that I'm going to offend some Softail Breakout owners out there. And that's not the point of this video. This is just my impressions of the Softail Breakout. As I said, there are things that I absolutely love about this bike, and there are things that, yeah, I could take or leave with this bike, and those things are the reason why I didn't buy it. But don't take my word for it. Get out there yourself, just dedicate a day to riding all different models of Harleys. You might find that the Softail Breakout is the one for you, and that I'm talking absolute nonsense. But thanks for listening to me ramble on. That's just about going to do it for this one. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.